let's put this up on the screen. This was our press release that we wrote about Cincinnati that nobody cared about. For immediate release, the Foundation for White Wellbeing condemns anti-white violence in Cincinnati. Cincinnati, Ohio, July 29, 2025. The Foundation for White Wellbeing, FWW, strongly condemns the shocking and brutal anti-white mob violence that shook downtown Cincinnati on July 25, 2025. The viral videos capturing this incident depict a mob of blacks viciously punching and kicking a white man and woman into unconsciousness, leaving them severely injured and prompting widespread outrage. Over 100 blacks are said to have watched, cheered, filmed, and uploaded the videos of the vicious beatings to various social media platforms, but only one 911 call was reported. In the immediate aftermath of this horrific anti-white mob violence, all mainstream media refused to report the story. Cincinnati Police Chief Teresa Thiji scolded social media for reporting on the anti-white brutality, saying that the videos of the, quote, fight didn't give both sides of the story. Think about the level of anti-whiteism there. This frenzied anti-white beating follows a pattern of anti-white attacks across the West, targeting white individuals and families in nearly every type of public venue. The FWW strongly condemns the anti-whiteism that initiates or fuels such attacks. We call on local officials to locate, arrest, and prosecute the perpetrators involved in Friday's anti-white brutality, and we demand that they face the full consequence of their actions under the law. We also call on Attorney General Pam Bondi to launch an investigation into this anti-white mob violence and prosecute those who are guilty of race-motivated crimes. Furthermore, we call on local and federal officials to publicly condemn and address anti-white violence, as well as the underlying issues of anti-whiteism that instigates and facilitates it. The behavior displayed in these videos is abhorrent and antithetical to the values of civility, respect, and community safety that the FWW upholds. No individual should fear for their safety while enjoying a night out in our cities, and such acts of aggression undermine our communities. We urge all citizens to prioritize human decency and take action to prevent or report such acts of violence. We stand in solidarity with the victims of the attack and their families, including the white woman identified as Holly, a single working mother who was brutally assaulted by black assailants. The FWW remains committed to fostering safe and thriving communities. We call for unity in rejecting anti-white violence and supporting measures to ensure public safety in Cincinnati and beyond. Anyone with information about this incident is urged to contact Cincinnati Crime Stoppers at 513-352-3043. About the Foundation for White Wellbeing. The Foundation for White Wellbeing is an educational organization committed to preventing cruelty to our most vulnerable and providing dignity for all by eradicating anti-whiteism. We advance education and science through the promotion and study of the Go Free method, a psychological defense for the psychological warfare being waged against Western kind. The Go Free method eliminates prejudice and discrimination, which benefits all who live in Western civilization. The Foundation for WhiteWellbeing.org, the premier foundation serving Western kind. I got to tell you, the white race deserves oblivion. This is the exact kind of verbiage, the exact kind of approach, the exact kind of unspoken premises that if a foundation for the well-being of Jews or Hispanics or Asians, remember there were nary any pro-Asian entities. They were just here and there in America until a few Asians got included in the pools of people who were the white people who were being discriminated against in the Ivy League. And then suddenly, pro-Asian entities came into being everywhere, and they wrote like this. They wrote about the well-being of their people and being integrated into the rest of the population. Jews do this all the time. Blacks do this all the time. And when they do this, their community, their people, they share it. They repost it. They laud it. They celebrate it. They take the verbiage out of it and they use it in their conversations. The white race is garbage. It is selfish, individualistic, non-white hating garbage. That's all it is. And cowards for the cucks. That's all it is. 600 fucking views. 600 views. What would you all, what kind of press release would you fucking celebrate? One that starts off with the Nners and the for Jews are doing X, Y, or Z. Share, quote, tweet. Fucking disgusting. Fucking disgusting. My whole life I have given to this. And I write this and put this out there. How hasn't everybody, has everybody in this community shared it? Now that you know it exists. Share, retweet, quote tweet, post it on other platforms. But as far as a broader reach, the white race is garbage. Cowards in the cucks and immoral, defective scum in the schmucks. So this is what happened in other words, this kind of thing happening isn't going to end. That's why the white race is garbage. Because this is not going to end. You want to talk about the blacks and they are violent, or they have low IQ, or they have higher crime rates, or all 30 fucking years I've been listening to that shit. 30 years of it not doing anything to create a people out of our race. When is enough enough? So, 5-charge and horrifying viral Cincinnati brawl that left woman knocked out cold. By the way, I'm not going to show it because even though others can show the violence on their YouTube platforms, me, nah. 5 people have been charged. So, by the way, the white female punched in the face by this anti-white black guy. When she hit the ground, she was on her back, eyes wide open, unconscious. But that's not even the worst of it. The worst of it is that as the person videotaping what could be a dead person now, or what could be a brain damaged person now, they don't know, blood begins to stream from the corner of the mouth, indicating that the mouth was full of blood. The back of the throat had filled all the way up to the front so that it began running out of her mouth. That is macabre. It is bestial. And the perpetrator should be executed by the court system. The perpetrator should be tried and, if found guilty, executed for attempted murder. But it's not going to happen. Because, why? Not because of the Jews, not because of the blacks, but because of the loser garbage white race. That's why. That's why there won't be justice. Blame everybody else. Worst race on the planet. Blame everybody else. The suspects' names were not released, and Cincinnati Police Chief Teresa Thiji, just wait till you find out a little bit more about her, declined to specify the charges, but cautioned that more arrests were expected. Quote, we have 5 we have charged and anticipate more. Charged with what? Disorderly conduct? You'll find out. Little hint, I'll drop a hint. Thiji is a white erased job winner. So the job of police chief would have gone to a white guy, almost guaranteed. Our numbers in the population, our numbers, percentages in law enforcement, the length of time that white guys stay in law enforcement, their whole career, it would be a white guy. But they've white erased the position. Why? Because the white race is garbage and they're schmucks and cucks. And so now you have this white female who is vehemently anti-white. Vehemently. Oh, but it's the Jews, right? Oh, but it's the blacks, right? And she said here, Thiji told reporters Monday, 2 days after the 3 a.m. Saturday incident, that she referred to it as a fight. So when a dozen people descend on 2 people, that's a fight. Only in anti-whiteism, only an anti-white narrative, that's a fight. According to online videos, the fight consisted of a mob stomping on the head of a man cowering on the downtown street, while a woman was cold-cocked and knocked out with blood pouring from her mouth after she tried to intervene to stop the beating. Here is the garbage. Here is the absolute human waste of an anti-white, white female pig. Take a good look at the face of this pig. This and I'm not calling her a pig because of the historic reference to police officers as pig. I'm called because I have always called anti-whites pigs. So that's why she's a pig, not because she's a police officer. She's no police officer. But this anti-white pig is put in charge. By the way, there was no police or emergency presence in this part of Cincinnati. How do we get there? Anti-whiteism, white erasure, the white race being garbage. Thiji, however, tried to downplay the brawl, calling the weekend, quote, outside of this one incident, an amazing success for the city. Outside of this one anti-white lynching of 2 white people, outside of that, it was a fantastic weekend for the city. You know how many non-white people were happy? Man. Quote, we had one incident late Friday night into Saturday morning that is getting all the attention and undoing the good stuff that happened this weekend. So it was a jazz festival, and there are plenty of white people that enjoy jazz. And there are plenty of white, and we were talking on Sunday, I think it was Dandy Westman, somebody said the comments from white people under these videos of these white people being obliterated, once again a demonstration of the garbage of the white race, the absolute trash of the white race, saying things like, you learned a lesson, fuck you. Good Lord willing, you will learn that lesson. And it'll come from somebody you won't be looking out for, somebody you've maligned forever. So you want to go out there and you want to just complain about blacks all the time? Why? Because you got a little dick? You want to complain about blacks all the time, and so you're going to go out there. We're not going to be able to have a people. So I hope it ends up coming from somewhere that you don't expect, and you get the same treatment. You get the same lesson. No update given on the condition of the target. None of these white people caring about the two white people in this. Can you imagine being such a piece of shit that you see your own people being obliterated in an anti-white lynching, terroristic lynching, and you're like, they went to a jazz festival, learned a lesson the hard way. Fuck you. You know, needs to be a book written. There is no pro-white in the pro-white movement. Not a fucking word for these people. You have to have, what's his name? Vivek Ramaswamy go out to have a conversation with this woman. Could you imagine if the Foundation for White Wellbeing got even a fraction of the support from the white population that the ADL gets from Jews, that the SPLC gets from Jews, that the NAAC gets from blacks, that an untold number of Hispanic groups get from Hispanics, untold number of pro-Asian groups that get support from Asian. We could reach out and they would talk to us. Instead, they got to talk to Vivek Ramaswamy. But we can't reach out and have the presence of numbers because the white population is hanging out with the cucks and the schmucks. This is loathsome. Absolutely loathsome. No update given on the condition of the targets, with Thiji saying she didn't know if anyone was hospitalized, didn't even know if these white people were hospitalized. The victims, quote, appear to be well as could be expected. Oh, they appear to be well as after they got in that fight. Ohio gubernatorial candidate Vivek Ramaswamy said he spoke to the woman who was knocked out, claiming she was a mother named Holly, who told him, quote, not a single local or state official had yet reached out, close quote, to her beside a single police detective. There, this white woman, good-looking white woman, lying on the ground, blood pouring from her mouth. And I was very concerned because where the punch landed, it didn't necessarily look like it struck her mouth. So where is this severe injury that is pouring blood everywhere? It's not like a cut lip and then it's coming from that. When you watch the actual video, she hits the ground. There is no wound on the mouth. And there are moments going by as the blood fills. You know what you can't do when your mouth is full of blood? Breathe. And she's unconscious. These people who want to talk about the white race as superior, you are the inferior. You are the worst of the races. If there was some sort of measurement of and there is of peoplehood, at least, you're at the bottom. You're at the absolute bottom. So nobody reaches out. You know what it reminds me of? When I was working on the Hill, and I'm not going to tell the whole story right now, and I was going to because we barely have 100 people showing up. You should share before I decide to just end the stream. So I'm on my way to my working late again, as I was, for nothing, for peanuts, on the Hill, walking to my car, sun's down, 3 black guys from a bridge that's about 10, 12 feet up higher than where I was, point a gun at me. And the one pointing the gun says, stay right there, you white motherfucker, because my boys are going to come around. So there was a chain link fence. They couldn't climb over because it curled backwards. So over by Union Station, they had to run all the way down and then run all the way down this parking lot to get to me where my car is, where, of course, they were going to carjack me, maybe kill me. So I had to make the decision that I was going to have to watch that firearm for as long as I could. And at the last moment, because my car was parked against the bridge embankment, I would have to take my eyes off the firearm and not be able to maybe make a move for my life if he decided to shoot me from 12 feet up above me. I had to a level of horror that can't be put into words. And I was able to stay composed, got in the car, and there was a giant explosion. Ended up not being the gun going off, but one of them had thrown a rock at the car, and I was able to get out of there. Called 911, and the anti-white black woman on the phone told me I had to go back to where they were and wait for police to show up. So I said, no, thank you. I'll meet them at Union State. She said, no, you got to go back. So I said, well, then it'll have to be tomorrow. I'll call y'all back tomorrow. I called the next day, told them who we were. So they deigned to send out a street cop, not a detective. And black guy, anti-white black guy, shows up and he said, okay, what happened? I said, well, I'm walking. And they said, don't move anywhere, white mother effer. And the cop stopped me in my explanation of what took place. And he said, are you insinuating this is racial? And I said, well, if the races were reversed and they said black mother effer, would it be racial? And he clicked his pen, put it back in his pocket, and said, well, a detective will have to talk to you then. Guess what? Never happened. She's a single working mom who went to a friend's birthday party. The former GOP presidential hopeful said, it's unconscionable that there were no police present in that area of Cincinnati. No police, no emergency crew. White erased by anti-whiteism, a consequence of the defense of ourselves and our nations, our countries, by the cucks and the schmucks. Look at here. This is even New York Post. Footage of the brawl. The brawl. Not an anti-white lynching, but a brawl. Neither one of these white people were fighting. They were being obliterated by a bunch of anti-white black monsters who were physically assaulting them, stomping their head into the ground. The man's body gets slammed on the ground. All right, enough of that. Let's listen to the Thiji, Teresa Thiji, attack social media for showing the footage. I shit you not. Police Chief Teresa Thiji attacks those who shared the video of the black mob assaulting the white couple, writes Benny Johnson. She claims the footage distorted and misrepresented what really happened. This is such maniacal, delusional, psychotic anti-whiteism that we are now burdened with, that we now suffer with because of the white race. That they would say, well, this sounds just like what happens to us in South Africa. Well, it was a robbery gone wrong. That's why they gang raped them and ritualistically tortured and murdered them for hours and hours and hours and killed all their animals and everything else in sadistic ways. It was a robbery gone wrong. You have a mob, an anti-white mob, brutalizing two white people. And this anti-white piece of shit says you don't have the full context. For all we know, they deserved to be lynched by these people. You don't have the full context. Quote, the post that we've seen does not depict the entire incident. That's one version. We live in a nightmare. This is phantasmagoric. And we post about this, 600 views. 600 views.
Another topic I want to cover real quick. Social media and journalism and the role it plays in this incident. And yes, guys, that's you. That is you.
Look at this hideous. You can tell that anti-whiteism is eating this pig from the inside. You can absolutely look at how this, what an abomination she is. Then we're talking about what is the path to anti-whiteism? What's the path? Can this animal, this anti-white monster here hates the white race. And you can see why.
Social media, the post that we've seen, does not depict the entire incident.
That is so disgusting that there are things that I would like to say that I dare not. I would never say about any group of people where you have a guy and a woman, no matter what race they were, being attacked by a mob of people, saying, we don't know the whole story yet. There might be something in this story that justifies the total brutal beatdown of this normal-looking couple dressed for the night out at the jazz concert.
That is one version of what occurred. At times, social media and mainstream media and their commentaries are a misrepresentation of the circumstances surrounding any given.
Somebody called Lucky said she's a Jew. Fuck you. Find a roof. I don't give a fuck what she is. She's anti-white. She is anti-white. That's all that matters. You are the problem. You do not make a people out of our deracinated race by complaining about Jews. Haven't you figured that out? That's what losers do. Losers complain. Oh, but you got to talk about the problem. Wrong tool for the job, dumbass. Do you understand that? Wrong tool. Ask Henry Ford. Wrong tool for the job. Henry Ford should have used his money to more deeply instantiate a white American ethnicity. Instead, he wasted money on the Dearborn Independent. He was a fucking idiot. You all deserve what you get. I don't, and there are a lot of good white people that don't, and all white children don't deserve it. But the rest of you do. This is, I think about it from time to time. It comes back to me. In every endeavor in life, when does bitching about a state of affairs ever improve anything? Nothing. It improves nothing anywhere.
Event. What that does, that causes us some difficulties in thoroughly investigating the activity and enforcing the law. Because what happens, that social media post.
Okay, listen to the circular reasoning by this anti-white white pig.
That causes us some difficulties in thoroughly investigating the activity.
Okay, so showing the video of this anti-white mob mercilessly beating these white people. And how many have I seen of these over the past 30 years? Hundreds of stories of people at fairs, white people at fairs, at carnivals, at concerts, at ballerina recitals, at amusement parks, at on and on and on and on, white people being brutalized. How many more families do you want to see beaten to death? Keep just complaining. So, and if you're like, wow, that guy's harsh, you know, it's obviously time to be harsh. Obviously, every now and again, a genuine leader, you know, if you had a father, which I guess many of you didn't, maybe you had a male in the house, but he wasn't a proper father. At times, dad gets angry. At times, dad is like, will tell you, you are a fucking idiot and you better shape up. And if that's intimidating, you don't like that, then you never became an adult. Go get a therapist. So listen to this anti-white pig's circular reasoning. You shared a video of what happened. That makes our policing difficult. Okay? Keep that in mind.
And enforcing the law. Because what happens, that social media post and your coverage of it distorts the content of what actually happened. And it makes our job more difficult.
Your video distorts what happened, making our job more difficult because your video distorts what happens. That's called circular reasoning. She can't even fucking think. Not only does she not deserve to be the chief, she doesn't deserve to be in law enforcement. Maybe doesn't even deserve to be in a white country.
Go ahead, right here.
Thank you. 2 questions. Where were the nearest officers?
All right, we got to hear the question because she goes right back to that.
In the central business section. They were working.
Okay, so the police officers were taking care of the businesses, not the citizens.
They were both in vehicles, and like I said, they had to maneuver through the traffic.
My second question is, you had said social media, news media distorted the content of what actually happened. What exactly was distorted? I understand that there was...
Okay, the reporter is saying, you say that the social media distorted what took place. So what was it that was distorted?
Multiple views of the video, but exactly what led up to this? I mean, what was distorted?
What was distorted? Now let's listen to Chief Thiji.
Yeah, so I think
Look at this bitch. Look at this absolute fetid, hideous, stinking mutt.
irresponsibility with social media is it just shows one side of the equation.
What was distorted? It's showing the event. The black people look bad. The white people look like victims. So we can't have that. That's the opposite of the anti-white narrative. She's not doing this because she fears her bosses or this is who she is. She is this monster. She's in charge. She's the police chief.
Quite frequently, without context, without factual context.
So how is it? What was distorted by these videos? Well, the videos distorted things. That's literally her answer. She doesn't deserve to be like a checkout girl. There's nothing that she can do.
Context. And then people run with that. And then it grows legs and it becomes something bigger that we then have to try to manage as part of the investigation.
Yeah. So people want to see the justice. People see what happens. What Thiji would like is to be able to conceal what happens from white people so that she can tell us what took place, who's actually to blame, what punishments there'll be, if anything will be said at all. We know that nothing would be said because in the anti-white narrative, this is a hush crime unless it's videotaped and shared by blacks who were celebrating. They were absolutely effervescent with how fantastic this was to lynch white people, as they always are in all of these videos. When do black people ever videotape something like this and upload it and say, look at how horrible this is. Every single time this comes to public light, the blacks that are doing it are anti-white. Every single time. All right. So there you got to see the inability to think, the prevarication, the circular reasoning, the illogicality of it. And remember, this is law enforcement and therefore the courts. Everything here is supposed to be blind justice in the West. That's been white erased. Our norms of blind justice and the innocent getting justice, society getting justice against the perpetrators are all white erased. Now it all bends to the anti-white ideology. Look at this. Cincinnati City Councilor Victoria Parks allegedly wrote, quote, "They begged for it," close quote, of the couple, and says she's, quote, "grateful for the story," in response to a white couple being violently attacked. Take a look at this anti-white pig. Oh, I guess we got to turn it. Here we go. Look at this anti-white pig. Another in a position of authority. You know, 30 years ago when I got started in the white sympathetic sphere, all of these nodes of power weren't held by anti-whites. So for everybody showing up and they want to say, "Oh, well, you're just jealous. You're just jealous that they continue with the cuckery and the schmuckery, and they got bigger." I've watched 30 years go by of failure of these losers. So let's go back. I really like this, though. The treason of white women. Victoria Parks says they begged for that beatdown. I am grateful for the whole story, allegedly. Here you have a white woman coming in, Kate, who says the woman who was punched didn't ask for it. You to hell. How about this? The Cincinnati vice mayor, another anti-white, non-white, she reacted to the anti-white lynching, and she said it was, quote, "one incident of adults fighting."
Turns to this one incident, adults fighting at 3 a.m. This is not who we are. But
folks, you keep investing in the schmucks and the cucks, and every day we are closer to how we are treated in South Africa, in Rhodesia, every day across the totality of the West, every day we are closer. By the way, I want to clarify when it comes to Eric's return to the land. If those white people are what we refer to as cravening, then fuck them. I'm all for moving to a place where you can safely raise your family and be among our people and practice our civilization, our culture, our various hues of Western civilization that we call ethnicities. But if they move out to these places and they don't continue to advocate for white well-being in all of their interactions with society, then those locations become mausoleums, because this is going to come find them. The day this will happen, where in Arkansas, where a band heads out to of anti-whites, heads out to the white neighborhood and decides to throw a bunch of bullets through town, decides to snatch somebody off of the periphery and beat and rape and murder them. And this woman in Arkansas will say it was a fight. The police chief will say It was a misunderstanding. You don't have the full context. And finally, when it becomes a regular thing, they'll do like they do in South Africa, another robbery gone wrong. But keep listening to the cucks and the schmucks. Now you get to hear from Benny Johnson himself about what's going on with Teresa Thiji. She seems to be getting sued for something. What do you think it is?
Of a black mob attacking white people. Yeah, really makes you wonder. She's, by the way, being sued by her own officers for breach of trust.
Breach of trust. Now, is that the substance? No. Breach of trust is an explanation of what's happening, of what she's doing. Let's hear the next part.
For lack of safety and decorum.
Lack of safety and decorum. Now, that is ancillary to what she's doing that she's being sued for. What is the decorum? Did it come down from heaven? Was it given us by fairies? Was there a giant multiracial conference where people from all around the world got together and they decided what the decorum will be in Western civilization? No. White people decided what decorum would be, what the standards would be, but those standards and norms of decorum and otherwise are white erased by anti-whites. Stop being a cuck. Acknowledge what this actually is. It's an attack on us because it's an attack on our norms. Now, here's what she's actually being sued for, the primary meat of the suit.
Forum for only this individual is being sued for only promoting women and minorities among her workforce. So it really does make you wonder.
Anti-whites only promoting. How many stories do we have to see? How many times? You know, for every time that we catch anti-whites, like this pig here, like the pig out in Los Angeles, the pigs in several fire departments and in the government there, in Chicago, in New York, we could just go on and on. For every time that we catch where they are discriminating against white males, there are 10,000 other examples of it that are not lawsuits and or not being reported. Benny doesn't, I don't think Benny here says anything about the white guys that are being discriminated against. Remember that when an anti-white tells you white people aren't suffering, white guys are high on the hog, everything's going good for them. Remember that. Everywhere in the West, white males are being discriminated against. Every single place.
Wonder what's the what's the motivation here? Motivation should be to have a safe streets in Cincinnati, but that's not happening.
So when we asked, she would not describe what those charges were or whether they've located the people facing those charges.
Okay, so Benny there, keeping the cuck real. He's keeping the cuckery real. Instead of pointing out how anti-white this is and discriminatory against white guys, white males, and all the attendant consequences of them being discriminated against, and which are not only their lives, of course, but indeed the streets of Cincinnati. As a cuck, he doesn't want to talk about the victimization of white people because the anti-white immoral imperative states that that is immoral to talk about a collective victimization of the white race. So that's why these dickless wonders are out there all the time talking about abstract. It's supposed to be about public safety, the abstraction of public safety. It's on those grounds that people are promoted and that they get reward. Look, when you have a system of promotion, what is it behind that system of promotion? What is it that facilitates? What is being observed? Your excellence in duty, your excellence at your job. If you tell the workforce that the white guys, no matter how well you do, you are not going to be promoted, then you end up with zero excellence in application of whatever the job is. Zero excellence. And then, as we talk about all the time, you end up with zero competence. So you've created a system of incentives that said to white guys, the harder you work, the more innate your talents, the more magnificent you are, the more likely you're going to be elevated. You'll make more money, get more respect. They've white erased that system. So now the white guys, they're not going to work hard. They're not going to try hard. They'll quit that job. They'll get tired of being passed over. They're going to let crime happen. That's what this anti-white pig is getting sued for. Attorney General Pam Bondi has now ordered the FBI to get involved in the gang. You mean the anti-white gang beating up individuals in Cincinnati? So the FBI is already conducting. Now, how much you want to, let's see what ends up happening. Let's see what ends up happening with Pam. I wonder if a group of 100 white people, males and females, surrounded two nicely dressed black people, man and woman, who had shown up for some sort of music festival and beat the life out of them, so that the black woman was left on the pavement unconscious and blood running from her mouth that's full of it, full of blood. I wonder if there would be hate crimes charges. Every time you think about these sorts of comparisons, you can thank the cucks and the schmucks. Don't ever not thank them. You can thank the cowardice of the white race. You can thank the maladaptive behavior of so many in the white race, the neurodivergence of the white race. We've been here, I've been here for 30 years. We've been here online for almost 10 years. Live stream after live stream, promotion after promotion, thousands and thousands of dollars after thousands and thousands of dollars in promotions and commercials, fighting anti-whites who deplatform me, take away the privilege of running promotions, and on and on and on for all these years. All these years. And where's the white race?